much of an opinion. I don't know any of them.
They're the people who do the tambourine dance stuff.
The belief is that God is it's sort of like a combination of religions, I think.
They have the restaurant around the corner still, isn't it?
I don't drink or smoke, Randy, sure I don't.
What did they believe in? No, I don't know.
They don't eat meat, don't drink.
I don't know exactly what is it, you know. I don't know if it's a god. Is it Indian?
I haven't seen too many around Dublin. I have in London. And it was sometimes entertaining.
They're always on Liffey Street trying to give out books, aren't they, at the bar?
I've been to see them in Glastonbury, like when any of those sort of gigs, and actually kind of get a good buzz going in the place.
I don't have a clue what Hare Krishnas are at all.
That's about all I can say about Hare Krishnas.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna. Jolly good.
The Maha Mantra that we chant, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is known as the Maha Mantra, the great mantra. We chant Hare Krishna individually every day. We chant, devotees generally will try to chant for about 2 hours every day. And then collectively, when you do it collectively, of course, in one sense, it's really uplifting, even more so than doing it individually.
Initiation's a voluntary process. And if you feel ready to make your vows, then at that point you commit to chanting 16 rounds of God's names on beads, like I have here. These are japa beads. There's 108 beads on the string, and we chant the full Hare Krishna mantra on each bead, right around. Then that's one round, and we do that 16 times. So that takes just about 2 hours.
The word Maha means great. That's what that word means. And mantra, the word mantra means man refers to the mind, and tra refers, easy to remember, refers to transcendence. So a mantra is something that transcends your mind and raises your consciousness from the mundane kind of level into a spiritual, onto a spiritual platform. God is not a Hindu or a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim. They're just material designations. God is beyond all of those designations like that. So just because we refer to God as Krishna is not that means God is a Hare Krishna.
Krishna is a name that we use that means the all-attractive or the most attractive person. So God is understood to be to have he has many qualities, but 6 main qualities, such as he's the most wealthy, the most renounced, the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most strong, and the most famous. I came to America in 1966 with Srila Prabhupada, who was the latest in a line of disciples.
So Prabhupada was 69 when he came on a six-week boat journey from India, and he had a heart attack on the boat on the way over. He actually had a heart attack. He had 2 heart attacks actually, but one was quite a serious one. He had very, very little money. He had the equivalent of $6 in his pocket. For someone to leave the country that they'd never left before at that age, it's just an extraordinary, incredible level of a combination of dedication to his spiritual master in Krishna, and an extraordinary show of compassion for people who are suffering in the material world. He was always smiling, always happy, and all he did when he went to New York was he sat down in Tompkins Square Park and chanted Hare Krishna. And from chanting Hare Krishna, sitting down on his own, gradually this movement developed and expanded into a worldwide movement. There's one Sanskrit term, Titikshava Karunaka, which means somebody who's very merciful and compassionate, that they don't want anything from themselves, they just want to help others, like that. And we understand that the best help that you can give people is give them spiritual knowledge so that they can ultimately get out of this material world. He's just such an incredible inspiration, and will be an incredible inspiration to the Hare Krishna devotees literally forever.
And when you feel that you're at a stage where you can follow the 4 regulative principles, which are no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex, you make your vows and you receive a name. So the names that are given are they're in the Sanskrit language, which is the language that the scriptures were originally written in. Karuna means mercy or compassion, and then Ishvari or Ishvar means the master. So my name means, the literal translation is the master of mercy or compassion, which is a name for God. but all our names are followed by Dasi or Das, which means the servant of. Yeah, most people do end up getting married. For most people, maybe when they join and young and idealistic and very hopeful and positive. I know in the beginning, even myself, I thought, oh, I want to be like a nun. Even though I already had my relationship, I had this vision of myself being very pure and saintly in a very short time. And I think a lot of people must go through that when they join. But after 5 or so years in the movement, with meditation and introspection, then you start to really see who you are and what your desires are and what you're dealing with. And for most people, staying single is not really a very practical option. So at least 90, maybe 95% of people within our movement get married these days, but there are a few. Some of them are brahmacharis. They're people who have never been married. They stay celibate and single for their lifetime. They're the men that you would see wearing the saffron-coloured robes.
Once you make a commitment to someone, that's it. That it should be for life, etc. So we do not, condone or support extramarital relationships or anything of that nature, because usually an extramarital relationship, the purpose of it is for, sex.
In general, sex is meant to be only for procreation, not for enjoyment, and that's like the ideal of married life even.
From a spiritual perspective, whatever form of sexuality is not satisfying to the soul in that context. So it doesn't really matter. There's no discrimination. There's no discrimination against what form of sexuality you do, or what form of intoxication you take, or what form of whatever that you do. There's no discrimination. The understanding is that if you want to develop spiritually, you have to fulfill your spiritual needs and not your material needs. The deity, a form of God, the Archa Vigraha, is that the form is made in the likeness of God, and then there's a very, very elaborate installation ceremony, and if it's performed nicely and with sincerity, etc., and everything is followed nicely, then our understanding is that God descends and actually lives within that deity form. And then the idea of that worship is basically to develop your relationship with Krishna. Krishna is a person, God is a person, so God also needs to be fed, needs to sleep, needs to do all these things like that. So it's to help you in your relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
We've been nicknamed over the years the kitchen religion. So Hare Krishnas are well known over the world for their food and their restaurants.
The reason we're vegetarians is because one of the first things that one of the first qualities you have to develop for spiritual life is the quality of compassion. It just goes together. Spiritual life and compassion go together. So if you're sitting down every day and eating the dead carcasses of animals that have been slaughtered just to satisfy your tongue and your belly, then that's not a very compassionate thing.
So there are foods that are in the mode of goodness, and they're foods that are good for the body, that create wealth and longevity, and also which help to create a calm and peaceful state of mind. And those are the kind of foods that Krishna says he likes to be offered. So we cook those kind of foods and we offer them to Krishna, and because he's absolute, then those foods become spiritualized. And then when we take them, we get not only material sustenance and nourishment, but actually spiritual nourishment from them as well. So that's why it's such an important part of our process.
Whatever we prepare, whatever food we prepare, either for ourselves or for the restaurants or whatever it may be, when it's completed, before we eat it, before we taste it or eat it, we have a Krishna's plate, nice plate for Krishna, and cups and spoons and bowls, and we make Krishna a very nice plate, and we put it on our altar. We have our altar here, and we put it on our altar, and we offer it to Krishna. I mean, again, you could connect it to the Christian understanding of grace before meals, although it's a little more elaborate. We actually put Krishna's plate, and we would never eat off Krishna's plate. That's Krishna's plate, and Krishna's there in his deity form, and we say some nice prayers, during the offering. And once the food is ready, it takes about 5 minutes maybe, to offer the food to Krishna. And then once it's offered, we understand then that everything that we eat we're eating Krishna's remnants. So Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has eaten this food. Now we're eating what he's eaten, like that. So our understanding is it has really powerful spiritual benefit to eat food that's been offered to Krishna like that.
We're not really meant to live in this material world long term. We're here for a while. We're here longer than the span of this one lifetime, but that's very much depends on our own choice.
The definition of an eternal spiritual being is it's Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda means it's eternal, it's full of knowledge, and it's full of bliss. So moksha means freedom from those things, freedom from birth, freedom from growing old, freedom from disease, and freedom from death. The idea is we're eternal spiritual beings. Our home, our real home, is back in the place that's also eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, not staying here in this place. The goal is simple, to try to convey to people who are not aware that there is another reality to this material reality. This world that we live in, although it's very powerful in attracting us, etc., which is natural, it's not the be-all and end-all. There is another reality, a spiritual reality.
We have to gradually gain realization that we're spirit souls and that we're not these bodies. And we do this by practicing spiritual activities, one of the most important of which is chanting Hare Krishna, chanting God's names, and associating with other people who are trying to practice the same process, and saintly people, so that if not by the end of this lifetime, that at least as soon as possible we can give up all our desires to enjoy in the material world and prepare ourselves to live a life in the spiritual world, because our nature is spiritual and it's the only place we can really be happy.